Now to the technology sector, where leveraging in technology has enabled the enhancement of security solutions in protecting homes and businesses by supplementing human effort. This is through various internet-enabled devices such as the guard monitoring tool in real time, safe locks, fleet tracking on CEO conferencing, cash-in transit management, alarm response system, use of bollards and barriers. Our reporter Victor Muturi had a chance to talk to Julius Delahaj, the CEO and chairman of SGA Security, to shed light on the impact of technology in the private sector.
Private security plays a major role in the country in terms of enhanced security in the country. But now the security is moving towards ICT to strengthen the industry in the country. And now many investors are eyeing to invest in the industry to enhance security in the country. I am now joined by Julius Delahaj, who is the CEO and chairman of SGA Security in Africa, who is going to shed a small light on ICT on security. Welcome, sir. So now give us the comparison between the physical security and the ICT on security.
My name is Julius Delahaj. I'm CEO and chairman of SGA Security. That is the security group employing more than 19,000 employees in East Africa. So we are operating in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. And we have more than 30 offices in those regions. And besides the guarding security, physical security, we also do cash in transit, event security, dog handling, close protection, events, anything that has to do with not only physical security but also in terms of technical installations, ICT, actually the broad range of security that you can imagine.
In terms of transport, maybe, do we have a strong network actually to cover the tracking system, especially in rural areas?
Yeah, actually that is the shift that we are going to look at. Is the past security was indeed focusing on the physical part. I used to say actually that security is no longer about muscles without brains. You know, muscles, yes, and arms and whatever. The physical part is important in some areas, but at the same time, society is changing. We're working much more towards technology. Well, the way we operate, the way you operate yourself, has changed dramatically from 5 to 10 years ago. So basically security needs to change and shift as well in another direction. So innovation is very, very key and important, and the applications of technology. We see it in all areas. You know, access controls. You know, you can imagine usually if you open a door, you would use a key. Now we use, for instance, fingerprints or even face recognition. We can use face recognition to identify whether you have access to the building or to the office or to a safe or to a certain room or not. Because if I put your face into the data system of a company or of the government or of a building, then I know you have access, and the cameras will register that and record that. So basically, if your face is not on the camera and in the system, you don't get access to that building, for instance. That is one, you know, simple example of technology. Look at the airports. When you go in and out, you need to show your fingerprints. So then I know it's you that I'm dealing with. That is another example of applying technology in security. One more part is that we are looking at is what we call geo-zoning, geo-fencing, is use of digital cameras. By having digital cameras, I can program them. I can program them in such a way that a digital camera, that I don't only record you, but I can put zones in terms of you are allowed to sit on your chair, I'm allowed to sit on my chair, on this part. But if we switch, then the camera would say, the system would give an alert, say, hey, you were not supposed to sit here, you were supposed to stay there.
Okay.
And I can do that with colors, I can do that with numbers, face recognition, but also colors, objects, license plates, so I can use the system actually to create alerts and to create security around it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, in terms of security transition, maybe how do you see Kenya? How do you see Kenya compared to other countries, maybe in East Africa?
Technology, yeah, well, I think from the 3 countries we are operating in, I would say Kenya is by far the most advanced, although we're seeing the other countries catching up with technology as well, particularly because we are operating, we are definitely, I would say, educating the market and also creating first mover advantage. SGA is clearly let's say putting those products into the market with our clients. We, as you may know, we have multinationals, we have NGOs, financial institutions, banks. They are really, those are the ones, logistic companies that are use that technology. Tracking, tracing is a very important thing. You put a device in your car or in transport, so moving from one country to another, if you use the tracking tracing device, you should be able to move it, to use it in the 3 countries, and that it doesn't stop at the border, because then you would lose, you know, your assignment or your valuables. So basically, we are using it applying it in all 3 countries at the same level, but from a general perspective, I would say Kenya is absolutely more adaptive and more advanced when it comes to technology. But on the other hand, we also need to understand Kenya has also maybe the highest challenges when it comes to security and safety.
Now, what strategies have you put in place, maybe in regarding to train your staff, maybe training the security guards, maybe in the country?
Yeah. Well, I think that is one of the things I mentioned, is that actually security without ICT, without connectivity, without communication is useless. If I can't communicate with the guards, with the client, you know, if I don't have a clear coverage of what the situation is, how can I take the proper action? So connectivity is very important. And the good thing about Kenya is, for sure, I think internet and access connectivity is improving hugely. Coverage overall is very good, I think, and of course it's still improving, but almost every cafe, every restaurant has Wi-Fi. You know, you can go anywhere and you have connectivities. Yes, in rural areas that might sometimes be a challenge, but that's where you can still use GPS or radio. So there is different ways, and you need to still combine technology to get this access and connectivity. But overall, I think Kenya, for sure, if I compare to Tanzania and Uganda, has huge coverage, and even to a lot of other countries. If you would go, for instance, to the US, in some rural area in the US, I think you have better coverage here in Kenya than there.
What strategies maybe have you put in place to see that these security guards are well equipped or well trained to man their work very well?
Yeah, well, we are using our own training school that has really high standards, so people are well trained even at recruitment. Before we make very clear selection, we do vetting ourselves, knowing the person, where are you coming from which village, which community. We know the people. As I told you before, we are operating throughout the countries, but have full coverage, so more than 30 branches. So from that perspective, we definitely look at it very sincere. Before we even engage with the person, then we recruit. We have training depending on the situation, 1 to 2 months before they even start on the job. But then there's a lot of rehearsal training on the job, and of course, depending on the nature of the job, there is specific training as well. Guarding a gold mine requires a different training than guarding a kindergarten or a bank. Each of them, by the way, are equally important, but when it comes to it, at the end, I would say the kindergarten is even more important and needs more and specific training than the gold mine. Although the gold mine has very specific rules, not only from a security perspective, but also, for instance, health and safety. You know, those operations, oil and gas, mining, have very specific regulations that we need to train our people to address those issues. So it's not only the basic training, it is a constant training, and as we have more than 50 years of experience throughout our company, the training is more than just, you know, the physical exercise or the training for very basic physical guarding issues. It's much broader. It really depends on the nature of the assignment.
Okay, finally, maybe you can talk about the safety of security guards, maybe when they are working, and also talk about salaries, because most of them have been complaining that salary is very low compared to the way the economy is in the country.
Yeah, well, for sure, if I look at Kenya specifically, the salaries are regulated, and that's where we have the Minimum Wage Act. We are compliant to that, so we really are looking into to those issues. In general, the safeguarding of the people is really being very clear and strict about our engagement and the rules. Discipline is very important, because the most important way to protect our guards is for them to be engaged and understanding the security rules and situations, because let's face it, the guards are the first. In case of an attack or in case of a security issue, the guard is the first fronting party. So we definitely do take care of that. For us, it's our most important asset. It's our people. So we better take care of them, because if I don't take care of the people, they can't take care of the clients. So that is a very key issue, and indeed SGA, I think, in that respect, is one of the best employers throughout, and really engaging with not only our clients, but first with our people ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
That has been Mr. Julius Bilhaji, CEO SGA Security, who has been shedding a small light on terms of private security and the way the technology is going to improve the security in the country. Until another time, my name is Victor Muturi.